Hey, what's up everybody? It's Nova, and today I'm going over the hybrid build that we talked about in my last Mythic Plus video. We're going to just look at this build alone. This is currently the best looking build for Mythic Plus currently for Assassination Rogue. If you look at a lot of the top leaderboards in Mythic Plus, you'll see many of these rogues are running this exact build or a very close variation to it. And so what I want to do is take you through this build, show you all the talent setups, the way it works, and just general Mythic Plus guide if you really want to dive into this build. And real quick, just to show you kind of where I'm at, I am at 2587. We've timed 11, we've timed mostly 10s here. And we'll probably be pushing some more like 11s, 12s with this upcoming reset. I've kind of been busy with raiding and PvP a little bit, so they're looking to push these keys up a little bit further. Again, like I mentioned in my last video as well, it can be frustrating at times. You know, just plugging in general can be tough. You're going to get declined a lot. But just keep at it. Hopefully you guys can continue to push your keys, and we'll get this thing going together. So my current stats are 50% mastery, 10% haste, 25% crit. I feel like versatility is kind of a wild card. Obviously it's good because it gives you damage and damage reduction, which is generally pretty decent for Mythic Plus. I would assume dropping maybe 1 to 2% haste here. I don't really want to drop any more percent crit, but obviously buffing mastery is going to be like your biggest damage output out there. So versatility is kind of a wild card. I do enchant everything for avoidance, just for like the extra damage reduction from area of effects, and a lot of these dungeons have some, you know, big AoEs and channels. For weapon enchants, I'm using Authority of Radiant Power, but again, a lot of the top rogues have like Authority of Depths for both, or Authority of Depths and Radiant Power, or double Radiant Power. I think this, you know, is kind of your preferred playstyle on that. You're not going to notice too much of a difference on that as well. And for consumables, this is kind of a personal preference, but you can try out whatever you like, or depending on your stat weights. I like to run the Critical Strike Flask, so Tempered Aggression. Occasionally I'll pop the Alchemical Chaos. This kind of just pops random stats up. But if I need a little bit more crit, you probably could use Versatility if you want to be a little bit more durable. Tempered Potions for your boss fights, or just in general, like if you're going to use them on cooldown. And then for food, I use the Belladar's Bounty, Mastery. It's pretty cheap anyway, so, or at least on the server I'm at, but it gives you Mastery. And then Iron Claw Whetstones, these give you attack power, and you apply both of these to each dagger. So you'll grab one, apply it to this dagger, grab this one, apply it to that dagger, and that'll give you a pretty good buff as well. So those are the consumables that I'm using. Then you also want to have some healing potions available. You can get these off the auction house too, because you can combine those with, like, if you have playing with a lock, the Lockstone as well, just to help keep yourself alive. So real quick, I'm going to show you a quick rundown of the talent build itself. This is kind of like a hybrid poison / bleed build. It's very standard across like the top leaderboards. And then we'll jump into some of the rotation differences between single target and AoE now that we were able to play it some. So this is for Deathstalker, by the way. If you run Fatebound, I don't really have much to offer for you on that sense, but if you're running Deathstalker, this is the build I'm running. So over here, pretty straightforward. We're running, you know, Cloak, Shiv. I like to run Airborne Irritant, which basically makes your blind AoE 50% shorter, but we're not really using it to actually like keep them CC'd. We're using it more as an interrupt. And then because we're taking this Airborne Irritant, over here we're going to take Blackjack. Basically, enemies have 30% reduced damage when they come out of blind or sap. So that's like however many of them you blind have 30% reduced damage for 6 seconds once they get out of the blind, which again is really good utility in helping like just damage mitigation for your group. Another instance of this is over here in this tree, Iron Wire. So when you silence targets from stealth, which you will do naturally from your openers, they'll deal 15% reduced damage as well. So there's really good just defensive utility there. On my last video, I was running a lot of Atrophic Poison, which basically reduces flat 3.6% damage from enemies, and then have been messing with Numbing Poison, where it basically makes the casting time, or like casting and attack speed of mobs take longer, 18%. I honestly haven't been able to tell too much of a difference here. You're looking like at a second more of a cast for most casts. I do see a lot of the rogues running this, which has prompted me to try it, but personally I haven't seen too much of a difference here. This is all pretty straightforward. We are running Resounding Clarity and Echoing Reprimand, which we'll go over in our rotation build. Deeper Stratagem here. So I don't really, not too much to talk about on this side of things, pretty straightforward. And then for our assassination tree on this side, we are picking up Shiv, we have Rapid Injection, we are running Crimson Tempest for like that extra AoE bleed or extra AoE finisher to proc Sudden Demise on like lower health targets, because if you look at it, I mean, that's like a 1.1 mil basically damage dot that goes on a mob, and if that exceeds 10% of a mob's health. Now hierarchies, obviously they have more health. This is not going to proc on like elite mobs, but some of the little mobs that are like pulled with trash can be like a really easy way to proc set and demise. Plus your rupture and your groats that'll be rolling on them. But anyway, so we're running caustic spatter. This is very important. This is how you're gonna spread a lot of your AoE, nature, and poison damage. We have death mark. We're running amplifying poison here, which is gonna buff your envenoms, and then poison bomb points in here. This is gonna be like really big AoE procs, and then dragon temper blades, so we can run 2 poisons. And then Kingsbane as well here. We still have Indiscriminate Carnage for like the AoE Garrote and Ruptures when we want to put them on. Let it demise. We pick up Bone Spike, which is passive damage, plus a nice like combo point refund, so you can get up Slice and Dice easy. Sanguine Blades can be pretty nice when you have to like leave targets, or if you have bleeds and stuff rolling and you want to go into CC mode. This actually lets you, still put out damage if your energy is above 50%. You got to watch it. But it's just a nice way to, if for every reason you got to kite or go CC stuff, you're still getting some damage as long as your energy is above 50%. Outside of that, improved Garrote, 50% increased damage from stealth. So this is really, really important, and we'll talk all about all of that here in a second. And then for Deathstalker, pretty straightforward. Obviously, you're picking up everything. And so for your choice nodes, we are running Lingering Darkness. So after Deathmark expires, you gain 30 seconds of 30% increased nature damage, which is great for Caustic Spatter and your build in general over here. Over here, this is kind of personal preference. You can either get a longer Cloak of Shadows, or you can get kind of Evasion, does a hybrid of magical damage taken by 20% plus the normal evade. And then Cloak of Shadows also reduces physical damage plus your normal magic evade. So I usually take the hybrid. And then over here we have Momentum of Despair, which is basically like if you crit with your Phantom Knives, the critical strike chance will go up and the damage will go up. So you have that. And then over here, each time you consume a stack of Deathstalker's Mark, reduce the cooldown of Shadow Step. All right, now we're going to get into the rotations for both AoE and single target. We're going to start with AoE. We're going to break down why we're doing certain things. So you are going to run Amplifying Poison for this build. You're going to run Deadly Poison as well, and then Mind Numbing Poison. So you should have those 3 poisons up. In general, I don't really run Crippling because it slows mobs, and usually tanks are trying to pull them certain directions, or you're not really trying to kite them that hard. You're trying to, position them, but Crippling can kind of mess up stuff, and obviously you're running Mind Numbing Poison anyway because you're taking the Talent. AoE rotation-wise. So first thing to remember is Garrote deals 50% increased damage from stealth, so we're trying to get out as many improved Garrotes as possible during our Indiscriminate Carnage window. This is what lets us kind of spread our dots to multiple mobs. And one thing to keep in mind is, like I explained in the last video, when you open with Garrote, it will only apply to a certain amount of targets. You have to reapply them to keep spreading it, and same with Rupture. So like if I run a Garrote right here in the middle, only that target, this target, and that target actually got Garrote. I have to Garrote again to make sure that these two also get Garrotes. And the same thing works for when we Rupture. So like if I Garrote the same target again and I Rupture here, that target has it, that target, but these don't. So I have to Rupture again to make sure that it spreads it here. So keep that in mind when you open up on AoE packs. Depending how many mobs there are, you may have to Garrote multiple times and Rupture multiple times. There are times where you can Rupture back to back because of the Serrated Bone Spike proc. So what this does is when you open up with Rupture, you're actually going to get combo points. And typically on a single target fight, you would use that for Slice and Dice, which I'll show you later. So with Rupture, when we have a giant pack like this, your Serrated Bone Spikes is going to proc extra combo points after you Rupture. And you can actually chain it into a Garrote Rupture. You'll see here. So we're going to open Garrote Rupture, and see we just got a whole nother set of combo points. We can Rupture again, and that way we have full Ruptures durations on all of them. Typically, like on a single target fight, you would, after your ambush, of course, Garrote, Rupture, and then Slice and Dice. But when you have an AoE pack here, because you get so many combo points refunded from this talent on this side, you can Garrote, Rupture, Rupture again, as long as you get about more than 3 combo points. Now, if they're big health, like if you only have 2 or 3, well, not 2, but like you had 3 mobs and they're all high health, you may want to Garrote again, and then Rupture. That way you're getting Garrotes on all 3 targets, and then the Rupture that's being applied to all 3 targets is also a long Rupture. That way it lasts a long time if the mobs are going to be all 3 elites where they have high health. I'll show you again once more. So let's say we ambush this like normal, we're going to Garrote, and then we Rupture here. We got a full another set of combos. We could Rupture again, then we can make sure we apply one more Garrote so that all of the targets got Garrote. You should be able to get that off in the Indiscriminate Carnage window. So this is the window where like your Garrotes and Ruptures are applied to additional targets. So if you're fast enough and just using this on the GCD, you can garrote, rupture, rupture, garrote. You may be able to squeeze in one more. Typically, what I'd like to do, especially if things are going to be just opening up, we pick the biggest health mob. So let's pretend this mob has the most health. This mob right here is like the elite in the pack. We're going to ambush to get our Deathstalker's mark up, which again, this is, you should be playing around this. You want to have this rolling on them. And then always try to make sure that you have a stack of this on your target as much as possible, because this right here, hunt them down, I'll show you when we do single target, is going to be a lot of passive damage. But you'll only get these, your auto attacks doing extra damage if it has a Deathstalker's mark up. Otherwise, you're just missing out on this, and this will be like 7% of your damage overall. So we'll look at this a little bit more in depth here in a second. So AoE pack, we're going to open up here. We're going to ambush to get that up. Garrote, rupture, rupture. And then garrote again. We may garrote one more time just to make sure that all of them have it. And then what I like to do is go ahead and get Crimson Tempest rolling here. And then we have to mutilate on our target to proc Caustic Spatter. And Caustic Spatter, when you mutilate a target with Rupture, it's going to basically put a debuff where it's going to spread 45% of your... Well, it's getting nerfed to 40% here soon, but 40% of your poison damage done to this target will splash onto other targets, which is huge. That's a big AoE. So just that rotation in general for right now. We're going to ambush, garrote, rupture, rupture again to spread it to the other mobs, garrote one more time, garrote again, so they all have garrote and rupture, and now we've Crimson Tempest, and then we mutilate here. This procs Caustic Spatter. So all these targets have bleeds, Crimson Tempest, rupture, and garrote ticking, and then we proc this. This is important because, let me go ahead and refresh this. So when we have Caustic Spatter rolling, watch this Envenom. It's going to hit all these mobs as well, plus we got a proc. If I Kingsbane on top of this, they're going to also be taking that damage, that tick over time. If I Shiv the back end, they'll take that damage. Again, if I Envenom off of this, they're all going to take splash damage. So you want to make sure you have this rolling on your big target. You're going to be cleaving off that as much as possible. So you're running Poison Bomb, and basically you have an 8% chance per combo point to make a Poison Bomb underneath the area. This does a lot of damage to all enemies in 2 seconds. This is huge. So it's RNG, but if you get a lot of these back to back, your AoE damage just spikes on top of all the other damage you're already doing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same opener, garrote, rupture, rupture, garrote, Crimson Tempest, and then we're going to mutilate to get Caustic Spatter up. And at this point, if you want a Kingsbane, you can. You Kingsbane like Thistle Tea Kingsbane like normal. This because this is going to boost your mastery, which boosts your poison and bleed damage. You're going to want to kit Thistle Tea in general at this point so that all of them are taking more damage. But if you don't Kingsbane, that's fine. If you're like saving it for like the next pull or something. But just remember that if you do Kingsbane on top Caustic Spatter, it will spread. But after that initial opener, then you proc your Mutilate, your Caustic Spatter, and you go to Fan of Knives span with Envenom. So you're going to Fan of Knives to basically hit everything, spread your deadly poison, and it'll also splash. You Fan of Knives until you get basically like full combos, or a lot of combo points, at least 5, and then you'll Envenom your target. The Envenom will spread because of Caustic Spatter, but it will also have a chance to proc that Poison Bomb. And you want to proc as many Poison Bombs as possible within that Caustic Spatter window. So here we go. So we're going to ambush, garrote, rupture, rupture again, garrote one more time. We can get one more off, Crimson Tempest. Now mutilate, Thistle Tea, we have Caustic Spatter, Phantom Knives, and we Envenom here. We got a proc. Phantom Knives again, and again, go for it. We didn't get a proc there. Phantom Knives, we could swing one more. We got a proc. We got to reapply Caustic Spatter, Phantom Knives, and Venom. We want to keep seeing how many of these Poison Bombs we can proc, because that's huge damage. You just got to keep that up. Now, at some point, depending on how long the mobs are, like how much health they have, you might have to like reapply your bleed to this. Obviously, keeping up a garrote is important here. Reapplying your rupture. If the mobs are all elites, you may need to burn a vanish again. This not only makes them do less damage, but it reapplies all your dots again. So you do the same thing. Get that up. Proc this. Now we'll Kingsbane Thistle Tea there. And we go into trying to proc as much of this as possible. We're going to Shiv here on the back 8 seconds of Kingsbane. We're trying to get these green Poison Bomb procs as many times as possible. We see Caustic Spatter fell here, so we're going to try to mutilate before we do it and get that up. So that's your general AoE with this build. Obviously, you may need to weave in a kidney shot to stun something, or an AoE blind So remember, AoE blind does not take off your dots. This is why it's really good for like an AoE cast interrupt. So like if you see, I'm gonna bleed all these things really quick. So let's say I cast blind on this target. It interrupts them all briefly, their cast, but they all keep taking damage. Like it doesn't take off your dots, so it's huge. And they do reduce damage when they come out of that. So that's where Sanguine Blades kind of kicks in. If you have to do things other than DPSing, as long as your energy is above 50%, it'll duplicate 30% of any of that damage that's ticking from those abilities onto them. So don't worry too much if you have to CC. Keeping your team alive is much, much more valuable than just like DPS tunneling. And trust me, I know how it is because sometimes it happens to me too. I am not perfect by any means. I'm trying to improve myself. So, but just keep that in mind. Now, Echoing Reprimand, let's show you how to weave that in as well. This is great if you're, especially with this talent as well. You're basically going to anima charge your combo points, which will act like a full Envenom. So that way you don't, maybe one less Phantom Knives here and there. So let's see if we can get that going at some point. So we'll ambush, Garrote, Rupture, Rupture again, Garrote. You could slice and dice here if you know your Garrote's ticked on everything. We're going to get a Crimson Tempest here, Mutilate, and then now we go into this. So Phantom Knives, and see we don't have to Phantom Knives again because we got the anima charge. We just Phantom Knives here. We just keep doing this. Maybe we do this, Garrote, get the Garrote back up, and now we're back, and we use the anima charge. So it's just a way to like have to do less Phantom Knives, but ideally you're still the same rotation. You just got to make sure, see we drop caustic spatter, make sure you keep that up as much as possible. This is your Deathstalker's mark as well that you want to keep up, but it's a lot harder to focus that in an AoE, admittedly, than single target. But if you keep this up as well, that's great. In terms of Slice and Dice, when you're like fresh opening on the very first pack, Slice and Dice is not a big priority. Like the first pool of the dungeon is a big pack, and basically right when one of the mobs is about to die, you can go ahead and like pop your last 3 combo points to get Slice and Dice rolling, and then from there the next pack you can, as soon as you Envenom, it'll just keep that refreshed. So let's go ahead and talk about single target. We're going to ambush to make sure we get our Deathstalker's mark, which this is what we're going to track a lot more with our single target fights like bosses, because we want to hunt them down passively procced on there. But rotation for single target, you're going to ambush, Garrote, Rupture. With the proc points that you get back from Bone Spike, you're going to Slice and Dice. And then personally, this is what I like to do. I like to mutilate, get really close to the full combo points. And then I'll hit Trinket, I'll Envenom, and Thistletea. Death's Mark. Thistletea is going to basically boost my mastery for 6 seconds, 13 by 30%. So my Garrote, Rupture, and Death Mark will be ticking really, really hard. Plus my Trinket's going. And then we'll Kingsbane after that. I'm going to show you this all kind of in slow motion here in a second. Kingsbane with 1 Shiv. So previously I was playing 2 Shivs, so I know I kind of didn't go over that like very, very clearly. So I appreciate you guys kind of pointing that out. When you're running 1 Shiv, yes, absolutely. Your Shiv will be the back half of the Kingsbane. So when you get about 8 seconds, really quick. So you'll notice here if I Kingsbane this target, Kingsbane just shows up right here. This add-on is big debuffs, and you can basically pick what type of... You can pick what shows up there, what abilities, what class. Like you can fine tune that as much as you want. I don't have very many things on there. I actually got it originally for PvP, but it works great for Kingsbane, just seeing like a bigger cooldown for that to track. So when you want to see where to Shiv, and like I said there, you want to Shiv on the back half when you only have 1. Basically, Shiv increases your nature damage done to the target. Thistletea increases your mastery, which is your nature and bleed damage. So just keep that in mind. Thistletea is for both types of damage, all your damage essentially. And then Shiv is just for your nature. So Kingsbane and a Venom essentially. So rotation, we're going to ambush, Garrote, Rupture, Slice and Dice. I like to mutilate, sometimes get really close. And at this point, now that we're here, this is where I would potion. This is where we pop Trinket. We're going to Envenom, Death's Mark, and Thistletea at the same time. It's off the global. Kingsbane, Echoing Reprimand. That way we don't have to spam now. We go here, Envenoms. We just try to get as many Envenoms as possible. We shivved on the back half of Kingsbane. And then we're going to vanish Garrote here, since Garrote fell off, to get another improved Garrote. And so this is kind of like your opener. So I'll go over that while we did those things to begin with. So we ambush to get up Deathstalker's mark right here. Then Garrote, Rupture, and Slice and Dice. You'll get free Slice and Dice because of the points you get back from Rupture. At this point, I like to build up and use energy because we're going to burn Thistletea So I like to like just get mutilates going here. It usually takes about 3, and so we're here. And that way, when I pop my trinkets and everything, and I hit Envenom, Thistle Tea is not going to be like a giant waste. It'll give us some energy back plus the boost. And once you get your Thistle Tea, you Death's Mark, you Kingsbane, and then you basically Echoing Reprimand if you're running this. You mutilate till you can get either Anima Charged or a full CP Envenom. So to recap again, we're going to do Ambush, Garrote, Rupture, Slice and Dice. I like to mutilate to burn my energy and get really close to full CP. Then Envenom gets the proc going. Potions, Death Mark with Thistle Tea. And then we Kingsbane. And then Echoing Reprimand. And basically if we land on an Anima Charged combo point, we Envenom. If not, we just mutilate Envenom. Once Kingsbane's on the last 8 seconds ticking, you're going to Shiv to boost the damage of the last 8 seconds. And then you'll have to Vanish Garrote shortly after, because so you can reapply an improved Garrote, essentially 50% more damage from stealth. So I'm going to show you the rotation one more time, and then after our opener, I like to burn as much as we can, and then we'll utilize our second and third charges of Thistle Tea to kind of keep us above 50% energy for the Sanguine Blades damage, and that's where our pull phase is essentially until we can burn. We get our trinkets and cooldowns back up. So here we go. I'm going to just show you a little bit without the potion, but Ambush, Garrote, Rupture, Slice and Dice. We're going to mutilate. We're burning energy right now because we're about to use this tea anyway. I would pop Potion, Envenom, Thistle Tea, and Death Mark plus Trinket, Kingsbane, Echoing Reprimand, and now we land here, Envenom. Mutilate, Envenom, Shiv, back half. Thistle Tea here. We're going to Envenom with Garrote. And we need to reapply our Rupture here, because it's falling off, and now this is our pull phase. So now we got to make sure that we track all our dots. We're missing Deathstalker's Mark, so we're going to make sure full point Envenom and proc this. Very important at this point, because this is going to be, we're missing out on passive damage. Now remember, I told you Phantom Knives after the first time you reply is like basically a smaller, better version of Mutilate. And this point we want to keep our Envenom buff going, our Garrote up. I'm kind of doing this in slow-mo so it's not overlapping, but you don't want things to like drop off. I'm just kind of like trying to make sure I put these out. So you'll notice here our Deathstalker's Mark is going to fall off here. We're going to Echoing Reprimand. We're going to Garrote here. Now we have a full Rupture. And then we can Envenom here because it landed on Anima Charge, which reprocs our Deathstalker's Mark. So that's a nice trick with Echoing Reprimand. You don't actually have to go to the full combo point Envenom to reapply. If you have land on a supercharged, you can do that as well. So again, one last time here. So you're going to Ambush, Garrote, Rupture, Slice and Dice. I like to mutilate all the way up. We got good crits there, so we're going to pop Potion, Envenom, Thistle Tea, Trinkets, plus Death Mark, Kingsbane. You can Echoing Reprimand here. Echoing Reprimand again. We're going to Shiv here. We land on an Envenom. We land on one more Envenom. We're going to Vanish out Garrote. And just try to get all the way, make sure we keep this up. Thistle Tea, because we're running out of energy. We're still in a burn phase. We're going to pull up our Rupture. And now we're going to start pulling here. So you're going to like hit a little bit less. So we're going to hold on for a second. Reapply that up. Reapply our Garrote. We're going to Thistle Tea again. And that way we're getting our Sanguine Blades damage. And then right before this drops off, we'll hit this up again. So we have one more Envenom before our Deathstalker's Mark falls. So we'll proc here. And now we need to build up to a full Envenom. So we reapplied it now. Our Rupture is about to fall off. So what I like to do is just Garrote again, just to get that one. And now we can do a big burn phase here again, or a semi-burn phase. Envenom, Kingsbane, Thistle Tea. And we just go try to burn as much as we can. Use our damage here. We're going to Shiv, back half. And that was like a mini burn. Our next, we'll pull again until our next phase comes up with 45, 44, 40. Like these will all line up with our next burn. But in general, that's your single target rotation. So definitely give this build a try. I wasn't running this build early on for the first 2 weeks. This past week, I kind of switched to this and was playing it more. I definitely like it. And then hopefully if you have any questions, pop in the comments. If I don't know it, maybe somebody else can help you. But the goal is to help you guys get as far as you can in your keys, and we're in this together. So until next time, guys, good luck in your keys. See you later, and take care, everybody.